Well, and he wanted me to be there. I guess he wanted to instill, which was really good. He wanted to instill that this was truly an honor, and that you should show up for those awards,
Yes.
and people are honoring you, and it means a lot for you to be there. So that's what he
Yes.
said, and that's partly because I wasn't. How can I say? Why was that so important? I've certainly learned that what you really need to do is you need to learn how to properly accept awards if you're going to actually give compliments and awards. So, the interesting thing about that story, if I take you a little bit further, is that my book is called In the Company of Grace. So many people ask me, well, what does that word mean? Or what does that word mean for me? And so grace could mean a lot of things. So grace could mean someone who is refined and educated and delicate and appropriate, sort of what you would see with Audrey Hepburn or Cicely Tyson. But I really said that grace has several meanings. Beside a person in the book, I took more of the religious meaning. So in the religious meaning, it's an unmerited gift. So I think grace is really this unmerited gift. And so what I've learned throughout life, though, is that you really cannot give unmerited gifts freely unless you learned how to accept them freely. So that's where that ties in with the book, not only the title, but also what happened. So I've learned to accept gifts graciously. And it's interesting because sometimes that's not a Minnesota trait. You know how we are. We
You
don't.
become a Minnesotan.
Yeah, well, we don't. I said I can always tell that you're from Minnesota because if I say no, you go first. No, you say you go first. You say you go first, and you never eat the last piece of anything on the plate. And I just, so that must have been part. I don't know. Somehow I became a Minnesotan, but I have since learned that you're right. That when people are giving you gifts, you need to learn to accept them, regardless about how you feel, that it means just as important to the person who's giving them to the person who's taking them. In fact, there's a story in there in the book as well where my father is giving me a gift and I sort of refuse it. And that's probably the worst thing a child can do to a parent is have a parent give a child a gift and you don't accept it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those things in there, and but
Yes.
I've learned my lesson.